What if you're not lazy, not broken, and not losing motivation? What if your mind is simply emotionally exhausted? Here are 7 signs most people ignore until it's too late. Let's start with the first sign. The first sign is waking up tired, even after a full night's sleep. Your body may have rested, but your mind never truly switched off. It spent the whole night carrying yesterday's emotional weight. Simple decisions suddenly become difficult. Choosing what to eat, replying to a message, or starting a small task feels strangely overwhelming. It's not because you've become lazy. Your mental energy is simply running low. You continue showing up every day. You go to work, attend classes, finish responsibilities. But everything feels heavier than it used to. Even ordinary routines begin to feel like hard work. The activities that once made you smile slowly lose their excitement. Your favorite hobby, your favorite music, even spending time with people you care about doesn't feel the same anymore. Instead of looking forward to the day, you keep waiting for it to end. Nothing terrible happened, but you're constantly counting the hours until you can finally stop thinking. Psychologists explain that emotional energy works just like physical energy. Every stressful conversation, every disappointment, every responsibility slowly drains your emotional battery if you never give yourself time to recharge. Imagine carrying a backpack every single day. At first, you barely notice the weight. Then another book is added, and another, until one day, even standing feels exhausting. Emotional exhaustion builds the same way, little by little. The second sign is avoiding things you normally wouldn't avoid. A simple phone call, a short conversation, or even answering someone's question suddenly feels like too much effort. You tell yourself, I'll do it later. But later becomes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week. It's not a lack of discipline. Your brain is trying to conserve the little energy it has left. Even small responsibilities begin to feel unusually stressful. You know they aren't difficult, but your mind reacts as if they're much bigger than they really are. The third sign is emotional numbness. You're not deeply sad, but you're not genuinely happy either. It's as if someone quietly turned down the volume on all your emotions. This isn't weakness. Sometimes your brain reduces emotional intensity to protect itself from constant stress. It creates distance, hoping you'll survive another difficult day. The problem is, when your brain numbs painful emotions, it often numbs joyful ones too. Life begins to feel flat. Nothing feels terrible, but nothing feels exciting either. You still laugh when everyone else laughs. You still smile in conversations. But inside, you feel strangely disconnected, almost like you're watching your own life from a distance. And that's what makes emotional exhaustion so dangerous. It doesn't always arrive with tears or dramatic breakdowns. Sometimes it quietly convinces you that feeling empty has become your new normal. The fourth sign is that even rest doesn't feel refreshing. You finally get a free evening or an entire weekend, but when it's over, you still feel mentally exhausted. Resting your body isn't always enough when your mind never gets a break. You begin saying, "I'm fine," almost automatically. Not because it's true, but because explaining how you actually feel seems more exhausting than staying silent. Slowly, you stop sharing your struggles. You convince yourself that everyone else is busy and that your problems aren't important enough to talk about. Psychologists often describe this as emotional withdrawal. It's your brain's way of protecting itself by reducing social effort, even though connection is often what you need most. The fifth sign is losing patience more easily. Small inconveniences that never bothered you before suddenly feel overwhelming. A tiny mistake, a little delay, or a simple interruption can trigger frustration far more quickly than usual. This doesn't happen because you've become an angry person. It happens because emotional exhaustion lowers your ability to handle additional stress. Your mind is already carrying too much. Think of your emotional energy like a phone battery. At 100%, you can handle unexpected problems. But at 5%, even a small notification feels annoying. That's why emotionally exhausted people sometimes react strongly to very small situations. The reaction isn't really about that moment. It's the result of everything they've been carrying for weeks or even months. Another sign is feeling guilty whenever you try to rest. Instead of relaxing, your mind keeps telling you that you should be doing something more productive. Eventually, even your quiet moments become stressful. Your body sits still, but your thoughts continue working overtime, making true recovery almost impossible. The sixth sign is losing interest in things that once gave your life meaning. Goals feel distant. Hobbies lose their excitement. Even achievements don't bring the same satisfaction they once did. This doesn't mean you've stopped caring forever. It often means your emotional system has been overloaded for too long, leaving very little energy for curiosity, motivation, or joy. Your brain begins focusing only on getting through the day. Instead of asking, "What makes me happy?" it starts asking, "How do I survive today?" And without realizing it, survival slowly replaces living. Days blend together, routines become automatic, and life starts feeling like something you're simply trying to get through. But here's the important thing to remember. Emotional exhaustion isn't a personality trait. It isn't who you are. It's a signal from your mind, asking for care, recovery, and compassion before it reaches its limit. The seventh sign is simple. You no longer recognize yourself. You miss the version of you that laughed more, dreamed more, and felt alive. But here's the truth. Emotional exhaustion isn't permanent. Your brain can recover when it's finally given the chance. Recovery doesn't begin with a perfect routine. It begins the moment you admit, "I'm not okay." Stop treating rest like a reward. Your mind needs recovery just as much as your body does. You don't have to solve every problem today. Focus on taking one small step instead of carrying everything at once. Talk to someone you trust. Sometimes, one honest conversation removes a weight you've been carrying for months. Give yourself permission to say no when you're overwhelmed. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. Spend a few quiet moments each day without rushing, scrolling, or distracting yourself. Your mind needs space to breathe. Remember, healing is rarely dramatic. It happens through small choices repeated every day. One better night's sleep, one honest conversation, one peaceful moment. Small changes slowly rebuild emotional strength. Don't compare your recovery to anyone else's. Everyone heals at a different pace, and that's completely okay. Being emotionally exhausted doesn't mean you're weak. It often means you've been strong for far too long. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would give a close friend who was struggling. Your emotions aren't your enemy. They're signals, reminding you that something inside needs care, not criticism. If you recognized yourself in these signs, don't ignore them. take care of your mind before it forces you to stop. Because the strongest people aren't the ones who never get tired. They're the ones who know when it's time to heal.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more psychology videos.